the person who influenced me the most to become a nurse and had a lot of other influence in my life was a boy named Terry Weiss, who was in my kindergarten class and graduated from high school with me. And I went to a small high school in a little town, so we only had a class of about 100. And Terry was a hemophiliac. And knowing how old I am, you know that that had to be before the advent of factor VIII. So his treatment was to be transfused repeatedly. And I think he probably spent more time out of school than in school. And I was one of the kids who got to take his homework by his house every day when he wasn't in school. And I was fascinated. His mom was his mom was a nurse, his father was a doctor, and his older brother was also a hemophiliac. So I had the opportunity to sit there with Terry, and we'd play games or just sit around and talk while his mom transfused him. And she'd teach me about transfusing, and she'd run an IV and all kinds of stuff. And I was just fascinated by it. You know, plus Terry was a pretty cool kid. And I think that I learned, and all my classmates learned, a whole lot about people with handicaps. We never thought of Terry as handicapped or having any kind of a problem. He was just Terry. And his house was great to go to. His parents always welcomed us, no matter how many of us appeared or how much noise we made. They had a pool table, they had all kinds of fun stuff to do, or we could just hang out. And when we got old enough to drive, in those days you could pay for your blood by replacing it, by having other people replace it. And so I think there were 12 of us who got parental consent to donate blood when we were 16. And one Saturday a month, we would take 2-3 cars, drive over to Cincinnati General Hospital, which was a story in and of itself, and donate blood to replace Terry and his brother's blood. And we did this one Saturday a month all through high school. Now, you know, think about how the donation center felt about 12 adolescents coming in and having a wonderful time while they were donating blood. And a couple of us didn't weigh enough to donate blood. You had to weigh 110, and I think I topped out probably 98, so we came up with all kinds of ways to increase our weight before we got on the scale. And I think eventually the staff caught on and just kind of gave up on it, that we were there. I don't think we probably ever broke even with Terry and Andy's demand for blood, but it was quite a lesson. And you know, another lesson how well integrated he was. For our prom, which he couldn't go to because once again he was bleeding into a joint and couldn't walk or couldn't do anything else. We went to the prom for about, I don't know, an hour, hour and a half, and moved the prom to Terry's house. And stayed there until 2 o'clock in the morning and had a ball, including his date, who went to the prom alone, which wasn't done in those days. Terry grew up to be a pediatrician. His brother was also a doctor. Terry died when he was a little over 30 from complications of chronic liver failure, probably from hepatitis A, B, and C from all the transfusions he got. And his brother was one of the first hemophiliacs to get and die from AIDS as a result of factor VIII being contaminated. So he was a tremendous influence on my life, and you know, knowing that there were people in the world who were different than I was. So I think he's a big reason why I really stayed committed to going to nursing school.